What's up, guys, and welcome back to Iron Mustang. On today's episode, we are going to be installing a Powermaster 9603 into our 67 Fastback. So let's take a close-up of the starter before we get underneath there. These are a real nice looking part. They come with a black wrinkle finish, almost looks like a bed liner material, and overall quality, fit, and finish. Looks like they really took a little pride in designing and manufacturing this product. And we're going to be topping it off with some ARP hardware. So we're going to get underneath the car here, and I'm going to show you guys what's going on. All right, so we got to do a couple little things down here before we get ready to mount the starter. We got to make sure that the area that we're going to install it is clean, and we also need to ensure that our plate here is bare metal and that the mating surface of the transmission is also bare metal. So those parts are good to go. I want to point out real quick, we do have two T25 bolts that allow you to rotate the assembly. So if you're running into, say, your headers or your oil pan, you can go ahead and clock it to a different direction. So the instructions say we need to measure the air gap between the pinion starter and our flex plate or flywheel. So I don't really have a great way to do this other than using my dowel calipers. So I'm going to measure the thickness of this plate right here and the distance from this surface to there and add them together, and then I'll compare that to the vehicle. All right, so next up here, the instructions say that they want us to measure the air gap between the gears here and the gears on our flex plate or our flywheel. So we're supposed to have between 100 and 250 thou air gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the distance with my dowel calipers from this surface here, because this is where it actually mounts right here. So I'm going to measure that. And I got about 150 right there. And then I'm going to measure the thickness from here out to the end of the gear. So right there I got about 550. So that's going to give me 700 total. So to measure the center of the vehicle, all I'm going to do is throw a straight edge over the hole and use my dowel caliper to figure out what the depth is down to the gears. So I apologize for not having a good way to film that, but underneath the vehicle is kind of cramped. I need to get a new tripod so I can do some better footage underneath the vehicle. But we were 780 thou away from the mounting surface underneath the vehicle. So we only have 80 thou clearance. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put the shim that they gave us in the kit into the starter to make the proper depth. So if we add our shim thickness here, which is about 60 thou, add that to our 80, 85 we had, that puts us at about 145 thou clearance. And they say that we need to be between 100 and 250 thou. So I'm going to pull this plate off here real quick. So that shim just gets slid on right here. We're going to slide the face back in. Now, I had made a little index mark next to the bolt just to realign it before I go ahead and tighten everything up. All right, so by putting that spacer in there, what we did is we brought the face forward, thus moving the gear farther back in our assembly. So now that we know we got the right clearance, we are going to go ahead and put this face back on here. Now they say to tighten it to 50 inch-pounds and use a dab of blue Loctite. Now the instructions say 50 inch-pounds. So if you don't have a little torque wrench and you're doing these vehicles, I highly recommend getting one of these ones that go up to about 200 inch-pounds. So we're going to go ahead and torque this to 50 inch-pounds. Now lastly, before we slap this in the vehicle, I'm going to point out they do recommend that you slap a little gear paint on here, and then when you start your vehicle you can see how much mesh you're getting between the two gears. But I don't have a running vehicle right now, so we're going to get this installed as is. Now I'm going to put a dab of anti-seize in this bolt and get the starter installed. So just to point out real quick, these stock starter bolts with these starters, they are about a good quarter to a half inch too long. So a stock starter has a much bigger flange here. So there's the stock starter bolt versus the one I trimmed. Took off about a quarter inch. Should go faster with a custom starter bolt, right? Alright, so from the top, if we can get an angle, right there, you can see the bolts to put our hot wires on. They look really inconvenient to reach, but honestly, as long as the headers are cool, there's plenty of room to reach your hand up in there. And that's basically what it looks like underneath the vehicle installed. So that's going to wrap it up for the starter installation. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And until next time, thanks for watching Iron Mustang.